Hello everybody, my name is David Liu. I am running for the California 49th Assembly District as the only Republican candidate. I am new to politics. I am not a politician. I have no experience, I have no connections. I do not have big companies or wealthy people backing me. I don't have any of that. I am an average nobody. As an average nobody, why do you want to run for such a prestigious position? The reason is very simple. You do what is right, not what is easy. Every single day, I walk down the street, I feel scared. I eat in a restaurant, I feel scared. After a long day of work in the office, after I get back home, I want to take my mom out for a walk, for dinner. My mom doesn't want to go. She is scared. I feel this way in the past few years, every single day. I live in fear. I'm sure you feel the same way. We have to make changes. Not only that, the indoctrination in our schools is getting worse and worse. One of the reasons Elon Musk moved out of California is that his son had a sex change operation. His son has become his daughter. Her name is Vivi. I think the indoctrination has to stop. The parents are entitled to the notification of such a dramatic event in their children's lives. Third, we have to control inflation. You go to McDonald's, you go to Starbucks, the price has gone up by so much to the point you cannot afford to live in California anymore. We have too many taxes. Not only there's a lot of taxes, many of them don't make any sense, such as mileage tax. You travel more miles, you pay more money for mileage tax. People who travel a lot are the kind of people who don't have a high income. They have to live on the outskirts of the city. So you get penalized for not having high income. It does not make any sense at all. That has to stop. That's why I am running for the 49th Assembly District. Because I feel scared. I don't want indoctrination. That would affect my child. I don't want inflation. You feel the same way. You, me, together will send a strong message to Sacramento. Let's do something about it. I don't want to just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk. But I need you to walk with me. Thank you. My name is David Liu. I'm the Republican candidate for the 49th Assembly District in California. Thank you.
I'd like to clarify, sir, here. We're talking about murders. We're not talking about just, I hate to say this because I don't want to be venomous in my characterization, but a murder, just the ordinary murder, the penalty is 25 years to life imprisonment with the release in about 16 or 17 years. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my background before I continue. I've been a lawyer for 45 years, a judge for 36 of those years, and a prosecutor for 12 of them. I've been a private judge for 10 years, what I'm doing now. I was instrumental in getting passed a lot of important criminal legislation. I authored 2 death penalty bills, drive-by shooting, resulting in murder, and shooting into an inhabited dwelling, resulting in murder. I was required, from my perspective in the law, to sentence a man to death as a judge, so I take these matters very seriously. And when David asked me, Attorney Liu asked me to support him for the Assembly District, I readily am willing to do that. He's serious. We know the threat to America, to the citizens of California. This Assembly bill, Senate Bill 94, if it passes, it will release almost immediately most of the people who were serving life without the possibility of parole sentences. Not just a murder case. We're talking about a murder case where the penalty was death at one point in time, or death was the exposure, or life without the possibility of parole. And you probably ask, well, what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you what the existing law is, and I'll just spend it, I want to be precise, so I have a couple of notes here. A special circumstance murder means if, say, you killed someone for financial gain, you had a prior conviction for murder, you killed multiple people, you killed persons while you're trying to evade arrest, you planted a bomb in a place, hidden, and killing people. You mailed a bomb to someone and killed the person or persons. You killed a policeman, a firefighter. How about killing a prosecutor and a judge and a juror? You're on jury duty and someone killed someone for serving on jury duty to either prevent them from continuing on that jury duty or as a retaliation for a verdict. How dangerous is that? This can result in the collapse of our system of jurisprudence. Think about that, killing judges and witnesses and prosecutors and jurors. That's the way you get to a special circumstance murder. Elected officials. How about this one? The murder was especially atrocious and cruel and heinous. Do you want that person who did that to be ever released back into society? How about because of your race, your color, your religion? Someone killed you or a victim for that reason alone. How about during the commission? Well, this person's committing rape, robbery, arson, sodomy, and he killed the victim. Do you think that person should be released back into society? No, in my view. How about torture murders? To torture a number of people to death, and you're subject to death, or now, since death is no longer on the table, life without the possibility of parole. And Sacramento is trying to remove that, to make that person eligible for parole, to be turned back onto society, released back into society. How about poison murder, drive-by shootings, shooting into your home? These are the types of things that could subject you to life without possibility of parole. In the supermajority in Sacramento, we've got an executive branch, the governor, Democrat, Attorney General. He should be independent, but he's not. He's Democrat. No one ever challenges what happens. The Senate, the Assembly, it's what we call a supermajority. They will pass whatever laws they want to pass for their liberal causes, and there's no one to challenge them. We need Attorney Liu in Sacramento to challenge them. We need to stop what I call madness in the state. If it continues down this path, we will see the consequences soon. With open borders, now open the prisons, take away your guns, and get rid of the police. That's the agenda nationwide. And we've got to stop, folks. Thanks.
这个 SB94呢，它不单纯是让这些杀人犯获释、提前获释，它本来应该是无期徒刑。这些杀人犯呢，是连环杀人犯，杀害儿童的杀人犯，然后呢，杀害法官、杀害警察的杀人犯，有一种最凶残的方式杀人的杀人犯。举例说明，史德运。史德运呢，在7年前在阿凯迪亚疯狂的屠杀他自己2个侄子，一个是16岁，一个是17岁，未成年，2个人被他用这个斧头、用榔头，满地都是血，最凶残的方式杀了2个人。他现在的罪名成立，2条一级谋杀罪成立。如果史德运在这个判刑的时候，大概率是无期徒刑，因为加州没有死刑。那么这个法案呢，虽然说是1990年之前的，但是呢，照这个趋势下去，像史德运这样的杀人犯得无期徒刑的也会提前假释。像这样的人放出来，你们会放心吗？如果他做你的邻居，然后呢，你会放心把小孩子留在家里吗？对不对？你家里没有小孩子，你会放心吗？他把他老婆几乎打死，是这样，像史德运这样的杀人犯。然后当时啊，提案的这个 Senator Cortez 说，这些人放出来最少他们是53岁，他的原话是 "They are too old to be violent"， 他们太老了，他们杀不了人的，他们没有暴力。史德运杀人的时候不是50多岁吗？所以50多岁是杀人的黄金年，对不对？所以他说的话，要么是傻，他智障；要么是坏得不得了，流氓成性。怎么会有这么无聊？不是做根本就这么无聊，这么一个智障的提案提出来，这是一个。第二，大家知道，在北加州那个陈一伦用拳头把他老婆一拳一拳打死，然后呢，其实他老婆已经死了，他还是打了很多下，因为什么？他要确定他老婆死了。当时这个检察官说：“I will make sure he will stay behind the bars for the rest of his life. He will never ever hurt another person again." 什么意思？就像这种用凶残的方法杀人的，他必须，他如果判无期徒刑，他不能假释。他假设了，他还会杀人的。有些人他天生就是孽种。我是佛教徒，我觉得有人天生有善良，但有人天生就是孽种。他如果到这种程度，他无可救药。现在加州监狱里面有34000个无期徒刑的犯人，这些人刚才法官说的，他不但是单纯的 murder， 他的 murder 因为是 special circumstances， 什么意思 ？torture， 然后呢把人折磨致死，用凶残的方法把人打死，陈一伦一拳就把老婆打死。所以呢，像这样的人34000个这样的人释放出来，做你的邻居，你会放心？对吗？你会相信他说哦 ，he is too old to be violent。如果有人这样来做，如果打个比方，史德运做我们家邻居，那我想我认为我赶快搬家，一定是这样的。所以另外大家有没有想过这个感受？如果有了34000个这样一个人在我们做无期徒刑的最凶残、最大恶极，然后呢最杀人成性这样的一个罪犯，有没有想过他的受害者？如果有34000个，说明有34000个受害者的家庭，他们是怎么感受？Yeah, I was saying that. What about the victims? What about the victims' families? You know, how would they feel about that?
I would like to take a moment to comment on one further aspect of this proposed legislation. The victims would be given notice to object, go to these what we call lifer hearings to object. That doesn't mean anything. They're largely ignored. Gascon's district attorneys or deputy district attorneys have been ordered by him, District Attorney Gascon, not to participate in those lifer hearings, so the victims attend these hearings on their own if they're ever given notice. That's just horrific, but this is what's happening in our state. But I want to comment a little bit more about how this SB94 would work. If it passes, judges would be required to conduct a hearing to allow this killer, he's already been convicted of killing with special circumstances, maybe multiple victims, some of the most extreme, horrific murders you can imagine. It requires a judge to have a re-hearing and re-sentencing of him. And what is a judge required to listen to during this re-sentencing hearing? The judge is required to hear mitigation factors such as, well, was he a victim of child cruelty? Does he have mental illnesses? Was he addicted or using drugs? These kinds of things. Well, all those things were presented in the original trial that put him there. I've instructed juries in death penalty cases, and as a prosecutor, I argued these things in death penalty cases. It works like this. The jury's told, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe the mitigating aspects, like all those things, of bad childhood and dope and all those things, are outweigh the aggravating factors. So you look at two sets of factors, the mitigating factors versus the aggravating factors. The jury is told to weigh them, and only if the aggravating factors outweigh those in mitigation should you impose death or life in prison without the possibility of parole. So this has already been done by a jury of 12. Now, this SB94 is asking that they give it a chance to come back before a judge and argue these mitigating factors again without any jury present. The jury's already imposed life without parole. And here's the thing to boot. He gets a chance to do it 3 times. Under this legislation, SB94, he can come back 3 times. If it's denied once, he can come back again. Denied again, he can come back again. And you know what? The state is required to give him a state public defender at taxpayer expense. These are some of the most ruthless people I can imagine. I implore the Chinese community to back Attorney Liu. I implore you to consider his candidacy, your friends, your family, get the word out there into the community to back him. We need candidates like David to get up there and help us change this. Thank you.
我的观点其实很简单，我觉得商人长远。加州呢，虽然理论上有这个死刑，但是20年已经没有执行过死刑。就加州对于这个杀人犯、连环杀人犯，就比如像史德运这样，最严重的就是无期徒刑。那即使无期徒刑，他们觉得还是太多了，所以他们的 SB94通过。像史德运这样，如果类似的法律再通过，他可能坐25年就出来了。他可能想，我当时把这2个小孩杀了，他们的父母不在家，我本来把他们全家杀了，我刚好出来把他父母也杀了。可以想象34000个杀人犯放出来，你觉得说他在里面坐牢25年就不会杀人？不会，他跟其他杀人犯在一起，每天交流经验更加丰富，会杀的人更多。你那个律师你怎么知道？我不知道。你愿意冒这个险吗？他住你们家邻居，你愿意吗？他到你们家住房子，你敢租给他吗？对吧？他说：“我现在改变了，我之前杀了3个人，但我向你保证，我不会杀的。我可以写保证书，我可以找公证来公证，你敢租给他吗？”他说：“我付你双倍的房租，你敢？你不敢，我肯定是不敢，对不对？”这 这是一个 common sense。所以我觉得这个法律 SB94 defies common sense。这不是一个民主党、共和党的问题，这不是一个这个法律你懂不懂？你们是读法律的，不是跟你没有关系。这是一个最基本的一个常识，没有人不懂的。所以因为这个 Cordes 当时他提案，所以我觉得这个 Senate 真的是，就除非他真的就是巨愚蠢无比，要么巨傻，要么就是很坏，要么傻，要么坏，没有办法解释。然后另外呢，大家可以发现的，就是说加州的这么多人，我觉得加州现在在做一个 social experiment。什么 social experiment？ 第一就是说，杀人的罪犯是 victim of the society， 他们是需要同情的。然后这个警察 police 是坏，他们是压迫我们的人。然后，所以由于这样的一个 social experiment， 就变成什么呢？加州整体的这个方向是劫富济贫，有你可以随便占人家的房子，不用付钱。你打电话报警，警察不会来的。但是如果你断水断电，有你打电话报警说他把我的水电断了，把我的电断了，我煮饭煮不了，警察会来说，你水给他接上，电给他接上，对吧？非法移民每天成百上千越过边境来到美国，他们拿到的福利现在已经超过了美国伤残军人的福利。这些伤残军人为了保卫美国，然后呢自己呢可能打断一条腿，打瞎一只眼，造成终身的生理和心理的痛苦。他们拿到的福利不如非法进入美国的非法移民。所以整个这个事情就是黑白颠倒，就成了一个笑话。所以呢，我觉得这是一个。第二个呢，就是说大家知道，这个之前这个 Proposition 47， 如果呢是950块，之前是400块，加到950块，就变成了这个大众化小，小众化了。就最后带来的结果，加州这些这个变态的、这些愚蠢的法律，把人性里面最贪婪、最无耻、最不要脸的成本，最大程度的激发出来。他把一个正常的人变成了一个坏人。我说人是需要有法治，需要有纪律。所以为什么我要选这个议员？人家说你这个加州是民主党，你为什么要选？加州现在参议院是民主党这个占大多数，众议院是民主党占大多数，州长是民主党占大多数，所以加州是一个一党独大的、一个独裁的这么一个局面。就是因为加州是民主党，所以我要以共和党的身份参选。为什么法官 Judge Milton was running for the District Attorney's Office as the only Republican candidate? Precisely because California is dominated by Democrats. 所以我们 we want to make sure there's a checks and balances. 所以必须要加州有这个制衡。制衡不但是3个权力之间的制衡，是3个 branch 立法、行政、司法的制衡，还需要2党的制衡。2党制是美国民主的精髓，就必须有人看着。不能加州的新的情况就是一党独大，那在美国的民主意义就失去了，所以会出现这么多恶法。所以为什么我一定要做这个事情？为什么法官一定要选这个作为共和党候选人选加州的这个检察长，加州洛杉矶县检察官，就这个道理。如果你有问题，你们可以随便提问。
One further comment, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to be mindful when you go to the polling place in November that here are the co-sponsors of this Senate Bill 94. 2 senators, one is Skinner, S-K-I-N-N-E-R, and Wiener, W-I-E-N-E-R, and then 2 assembly members, Jackson and Weber, W-B-E-R. Vote them out, folks, and vote Liu in. Thank you.
加一句话，然后为什么我今天要做 SB94？因为那个民主党的候选人，那 incumbent 方素祥，他投的是赞成票 ，SB9 他投的是赞成票。
Is it the difference between SB94 and the appealing court? Because we don't know the appeal court is like a prisoner, they can appeal their case, right? And then SB94, what are the difference?
Yeah, an appeal usually happens immediately after a trial. Let's say a trial by a jury or a judge after a conviction. And a person can go to the appellate court to appeal for whatever reasons, a certain error, to try to get that conviction overturned. This SB94 is far beyond that, and let me explain what I mean. It happens way after all the appeals were finalized. Let's say you went to the appellate court and you lost, and you went to the Supreme Court and you lost, and you went to the United States Supreme Court and you lost. You're now convicted to life and you're sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in California State Prison. Now, this SB94 wants to give you 3 more opportunities to challenge that life. Basically, they're trying to get rid of life without the possibility of parole. They don't want that to be a possible sentence in California. They dispensed with the death penalty, and now they're wanting to dispense with this sentence, life without the possibility of parole. And they're giving these people who have been through rounds of appeals 3 more opportunities beyond that to challenge that sentence. It's, in my view, it's madness.
So it's not about wrongful conviction. It's about having another chance for the murderer to enter our society again.
3 more chances.
3 more chances.
What happens is he petitions the judge, and the judge must grant him this hearing and take on more evidence. And there won't be a jury to make that decision. The jury's already made a decision now, much earlier. Now this judge is required to conduct this hearing.
And the judge can decide.
The judge is required to resentence if the judge believes that the mitigating factors outweigh any aggravating factors. And like I mentioned earlier, these are things that were already considered by a jury years earlier. Nevertheless, they're entitled to have a hearing. If the judge says no, your sentence will stay, like without the possibility of parole. You get another chance 3 years later, and then you get another chance 3 years after that. So you can challenge this life without the possibility of parole sentence that you've appealed numerous times, over and over again. And it's just ludicrous and taxing on our system. It's just unfair. Victims' families ought to be given a break from relitigating this and thinking now this person who killed our loved ones might get out again.
另外，我特别加一点，大家知道呢，在去年的 LiuforAssembly 一个警察呢被打死了。这个警察被打死的这个事情很轰动，因为什么呢？就打死警察这个人呢，他本来是来坐牢的，但是因为 George Gascon 因为他的政策，他被提前释放出来。他出来之后，这个人呢，他呢就后来呢也是在犯罪的时候跟警察发生冲突，所以这个 Marco Pérez 这个警察，他被这个犯人叫 Chester Flores 后来被打死，所以后来这个警察呢家属现在在告这个 George Gascon， 告洛杉矶县检察官办公室，告500万美金。这个不是重点，重点是什么呢？有句话叫做什么呢？叫 people change， 人会变的，但是很多时候 people don't change，you are who you are。所以为什么这个人这个犯人他呢已经犯了好几条罪被放出来？结果把警察打死，所以这是一个最明显的例子。当然，很多人被打死的可能不是警察，他不会上去，大家不知道。就很简单道理，如果你觉得刘律师，你为什么不能给人家第2次机会？很简单，你问一下你自己：如果这个杀人犯这个 Chester Flores 把警察打死了，现在提前释放出来，你做人家的邻居，你会不会晚上睡觉会睡得不太好？你看到他跟人家小孩打招呼，你心会不会一下提起来？刘律师说：“我不知道。”你不会不知道，你会知道，因为这是一个最基本的一个人性的东西，这是一个最重要的。所以，如果没有这些恶法，那么这个警察 这个Marco Polo 就不会死，很多人不能就不会死。现在不是一个，是34000人，并且这些人不是杀一个人，是杀很多人，杀小孩的。然后呢，法官之前说过一个在公园里面，他呢就是疯狂的屠杀了一大堆小孩。那个 the other day you were talking about this case where this person he actually murdered like multiple people, all minors in a park. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, very fortunately, this SB94 has put a limitation. If you murdered 3 people or more, then you don't get the resentencing opportunity. So they've created an exception so it would be more palatable to the public if the public were to hear this. So there are 2 exceptions. One is if you murder a policeman. I think if they had not created that exception, you'd have public outcry or more public outcry. And they've accepted a situation where a person has murdered 3 or more. So you can torture and murder up to 2 people and get this rehearing. But if you torture and murder 3 people, you don't get this hearing. So your question, David, for clarification?
Yeah. So can you just tell us what happened in the park so the people have a better idea as to how heinous the crimes were and how brutal he was?
It's very disconcerting to have practiced. I had a career in public service, 36 of those years in public service. Like I said, 24 as a judge and 12 as prosecutor. And when I first learned of this proposal, SB94, I was taken aback because I thought maybe it might disturb the sentence that was originally a death sentence. That was reduced to life without possibility of parole. And one of the most dangerous people I've met in my entire life, my entire career. And I sat probably 10 to 15 feet away from this person for about 3 months because I was the prosecutor. And the jury was in the box and death was being sought. And this man, before he was, let me give you an idea of what he was really like. He had a shaved head, it was bald, and his entire head was covered with gang tattoos, and they ran all over down his neck and his whole body almost. And he went into this park. Oh, he was in prison, and he was released from prison for murder. Well, his murder was reduced to manslaughter. The murder was running over a person's head and killing him intentionally. But he was released, still a dangerous person. 2 weeks after his release from prison, he went into a park and he saw 3 teenage boys in that park smoking marijuana with their girlfriends. And he tells them to get out of this park. Well, of course, these teenage boys with their girlfriends aren't going to have anything. We're not going to do that. Sure, buddy. Well, he grabbed the first young man into a headlock, put the gun into his eye socket and discharged it, killing him instantly. He grabbed the second boy in a headlock, put the gun to his cheek, a contact wound as we called them, discharged it, and then another into his eye socket and discharged it. The third boy is now fleeing the area, and he's firing shots at the third young man who's hit a couple of times, but he survives the attack. 2 weeks later on Halloween night, he goes to this couple's home who we had been acquainted with. He believed they told the sheriff about the park killings. So our crime scene was this. The husband was in a recliner chair, and he has a contact wound to the cheek going from down to up, meaning that this guy was stooped down next to him while he was the victim was in the recliner. And we have a gunshot wound to the top of his head, like he walks around to the front of the recliner, and it's a contact wound. He puts the gun barrel to the top of the victim's head and discharges it again. We now have the victim's wife, her body, we have a house slipper a few feet away, and then a few feet away from that, and then her body by the threshold of the door with 2 gunshot wounds behind the head. The jury comes back with death, and he goes on off to prison, where he kills again in prison. But he's launched these years of appeals. Now, let me tell you, I told you how he was bald with all the tattoos. Well, during his jury trial, he had longer hair, and he looked like me. He had a set of glasses. His hair covered up most of the tattoos. He had a shirt and tie. You could see little tattoos coming up around the neck area and around the sleeves here, but he basically looked like a guy like me. And he carried a Bible with him every day at trial. This is how deceptive and devious and dangerous this person is. I don't even think he's a person. I think he's demonic. And I think if he's ever released back on society, he will kill again. He's been killing while he's in prison, returned to prison. A federal judge reduced his death sentence to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So I was very concerned that he would eventually be able to take advantage of that and be released again. But because of the number of people he killed, I mean, he killed 7 or 8 altogether, he would be an exception to this proposed legislation.
这个人呢，在公园里面疯狂的屠杀了3个小孩子。他这个方式呢极其残忍，他是把这个头这样用这个胳膊的 headlock， 他头动不了，拿枪对着他的眼睛，爆一枪，打死2个人，打死了2个人。这种最疯狂、最残忍的方式，为什么？因为啊，然后呢，他叫小孩说：“你们滚吧，不要在这里。”那小孩当然不走。那小孩子为什么？这个我也不是你家的，为什么我要走？他就过去拿那个卡顿头，拿枪对着眼睛，这样爆一枪，整个头全部打死了，杀了2个，第3个跑了，也被他打死。所以就是这样的。SB90是说，如果你杀了3个人或者以上 ，SB90是不适用的。杀2个可以，杀3个不行。很简单，有人到你们家来租你们的房子，他跟你强调，我呢杀的是2个人之前，不是3个。你说哦，3个也太多，2个可以来吧，这里签字，你会吗？对吧？另外呢，法官提到，刚才有些人呢，他说这个人不是，这个人根本就是没有任何感情的，就是一个杀人狂魔。我可以理解，之前呢，我有个人。他什么事呢？他就在等公车，人家多看他一眼，他把对方打成终身残废。后来坐牢坐了5年，5年之后出来了，在这坐了5年了，不会任何事，人家多看他一眼，打成终身残废。我问他说：“我 having spent 5 years in jail, if you could start over, would you do it again？” 你还会不会做这种愚蠢的事情，这么残忍的事情？然后他想都不想，直接讲说 ：“Sure。”I will do it again in a heartbeat。我想都不想，谁再多看我，还是我把他打成终身残废。为什么有句话叫 "You cannot change who you are"？ 有些人天生就是孽者，就是凶残的杀人犯。
So, with the knowing that Mike Fogg, the 49th Assemblymen, have been voting against the will of the community within this district, why are the people in 49 still voting for him?
既然 Mike Fogg 投了这个 SB94的赞成票，为什么大家还选他？我觉得最重要的问题，但是大家很多人不知道 SB94，也不知道他是投 SB94的赞成票，就很多的选民，我觉得是根本不清楚发生什么事情。他们看到说，哦，他过来给我发了个奖状， 拍那个照片，哎，这个奖状真好看，我放在家里。他不清楚真正发生的事情。34000个连环杀人犯释放出来，你会想象后果是什么？
I think that was an excellent question, Nasa, and it would be speculation on my part but I'll give you that speculation. I believe it's in part because, again, and I don't mean this in any sense disrespectful or pejorative way, but I think it's because the Chinese community, their voters assume that these people are doing the right thing, and they're not participating to the extent that they should be on those issues that directly impact their community. They need to get out and vote these people out of office.
刘律师，你看我的发，谁可以投票给你
？49区的选民可以投票给我。
范围是
49区呢有其实12个城市，然后呢其实就是我们比如说开始我们现在的 Rosemead、圣盖博、阿凯迪亚、圣马利诺、艾尔蒙地、South 艾尔蒙地、阿罕布拉、蒙特利公园、East Pasadena、South Pasadena、Monte Bella， 全部有12个城市。Capital City。
还有，如果有人想支持你，可是他没有选，他不是选民呢，可是他支持你的做法，他想捐款，怎么样可以捐款给你的 campaign 呢？
这个后面有个2维码，就其实最重要的捐钱的背后是捐一份心意。很多人收了多少钱？你捐了1块钱，1块钱就够了，就表示说你认同我的理念，这是最重要的。后面有个2维码，是
这个网站，他们也可以去你的网站去看。
对，是我们网站有这个捐款的讯息，可以做义工。其实我们更需要的是义工，这个捐款需要，义工也需要，选举人很花钱。最重要的，我觉得就大家，我觉得华人社区最大的问题是什么？就我自己是华人，我说话就很直接。就是什么？就是说我们呢很冷漠，觉得这个事情呢跟我没关系，就觉得这个你们做什么好也好，不好也好，反正我就接受嘛。但是呢，你没有想过，这个杀人犯住在你家里面去，你能接受吗？你晚上睡得着觉吗？尤其你家里有小孩子，死人又住你家隔壁，你敢住吗？所以我觉得，其实我们要觉醒过来，这是第一个。第二个呢，很多人来美国呢，华人来美国，觉得美国呢民主自由，最重要的是什么？就没有人参与。就是我们呢，不但是观众，我们也是球员。比如说刘律师，我不听你们说什么，因为你可以选，你认为你可以代表你利益、代表你权利的球员，因为这个就是你参与的方式。所以投票这个 voting， 它实际上是美国民主政治最关键的一环。这样的话，大家才可以参与，你才可以有发言权，你才可以当家做主。怎么当家做主？就是投票。
SB94法案现在进入什么样的阶段？然后接下来进入这个公投阶段吗？你们再简单介绍一下整个流程。
SB94它现在在这个参议院已经通过，它现在呢，下一步就要到众议院，它因为它是 SB， 它是Senate提出来的这么一个法案。它现在处于一个 inactive 一个封存的状态，它随时可以变成 active。它如果到众议院通过，然后州长签字，它就会成为法律。因为呢，它不是一个 amendment， 所以它不会经过公投，所以这个时候危险是非常大的。因为为什么？现在加州大家知道，参议院、众议院、州长都是民主的这个把持掌控。现在加州众议院全部80个席位，62个民主党，18个共和党。所以大家可以想一下，这个危险是这个 the danger is imminent， 所以危险是非常急迫，随时会通过。所以大家呢就一定能做的，就比如说49区，对吧？也好，其他区也好，就一定要制造这个声势，让这些人，让众议院的议员觉得说，如果我投赞成票，像方树强一样，大家呢就发现这个就不会再选我，这样的话，我们才能够确保。SB94是不会通过。
Folks, I know lunch is being served, so I'll be brief. But I want to tell you about a judge's nightmare, an absolute nightmare. You might think of this person who's not empathetic to people and their situations, but it's not true at all. Let me tell you an instance where I exercised leniency. A young lady from China, she weighed about 95 to 97 pounds, and she was left here in, I think, Arcadia, and alone, unsupervised. She was an excellent student. A's in chemistry and math and all those difficult STEM subjects. So she met up with a boy here, and the two of them went out, and they would find out of in the Chinese community, these big homes that the owners were away in China or elsewhere and just had these vacant homes. So the girls, 17-year-old and their 19-year-old boyfriend go in, they break into the home, and they live there for several weeks, use whatever's there, cash and credit cards, cars. Then when they think that family's returning to the United States, they go to another home, and another home. I think they did it 3 times before they were caught. The 19-year-old boyfriend, since he was over 18, he was sentenced to 8 years in state prison. The district attorney, the girl was brought to my court for sentencing, and they asked me to give her 5 years in prison. And I said, counsel, she has no criminal history. She's an excellent student, 17 years old at the time of the commission of the offense, influenced by this guy who was 19 to do these things. I don't think because of her stature, she could survive in prison. So the district attorney was demanding that I had to give her the 5 years, and the defense attorney said, Judge, just give her 1 year and 5 years probation. And so the matter was submitted, and I had a stand, and I said, young lady, you are sentenced to 5 years in state prison. And I didn't say anything else for a while. And her parents flew over from China, and they were all there, and they were just burst out in tears and emotions and all that. And the defense attorney, because the defense attorney said, well, the parents paid all the restitution, the damage that she caused, and she'll go back to school. So I waited, and then I said, young lady, I'm going to suspend that 5 years and put you on probation for 5 years. And you spend 1 year in the Los Angeles County Jail. And that was it. But you're going to tutor students free of charge. And you're going to come back and show me how well you've done. You're going to show me your grades and stuff like that. And she did. Every few months she'd come back and show me her grades. And she tutored students free of charge until she met her next boyfriend. Her next boyfriend then robbed a young man of his wallet. And she was afraid. She said, if this goes back to Judge Milton, he's going to give me 5 years. I got 5 years. So the girl and the next boyfriend beat the boy up, put him in the front of a car, set him on fire, and killed him. This is what I call a judge's nightmare. I took a chance with that leniency. You've got to hold people accountable for what they do. You never know this is going to turn out good or bad. But we can't, attorney Liu shared, you cannot experiment with people's lives.
我看很多华人讲，只要你是18岁公民，你就可以投票，然后跟他们谈这个社会议题的时候呢，他们都很多时候都很有这个热情，然后叫他们去投票呢，他们就很有顾虑的，怎么样可以克服这个心理的障碍呢？
我觉得，尤其在18岁这个年龄啊，我觉得他去投票，他去当家做主，实际上是他成长成为成年人的一个重要的标志，这是第一个。第二个，因为为什么他真正意识到说， they have to be involved， 他们需要呢当家作主，需要参与。所以做这个事情去投票，实际上是一个了不起的事情，是个光荣的事情。就好像呢，就比如说小孩子长大以后，我要学开车，我要开车，是一个道理。我觉得这个是他承担这个社会责任最重要的一个关键。
华人不投票的负累在哪里呢？
华人我觉得投票，我觉得第一，很多人他不了解，就是说投票 voting 投票 casting vote 这个是非常重要的。我觉得，因为这关系到你自己，因为你选出认为代表你的候选人，实际上你得跟你自己去做候选人，跟你自己去做市长、做议员是一样的，因为它代表了你的利益，这是第一个。我觉得很多华人意识不到这一点。我觉得有些华人呢，他如果本身有这样的一个背景就比较好。你很多人，比如台湾大学，他会回台湾投票。就这个道理，他意识到说投票很重要，这是第一。那第二个，我觉得是什么呢？很多人觉得说，我投个票，我一张票受不了，我改变不了什么。但是你想到，如果1000个人站一下，那么实际上你就可以有1000张票。其实大家知道，之前美国大选，布希跟那个高尔总统选举的时候，就差200票决定了谁是下一个美国总统，200票决定谁是下一个美国总统。其实很多时候，我们看投票记录，差的其实并不是大家几十万票、几万票，不是，其实就是几百票，有的时候几十票，有的时候1票，所以1票就决定你胜、你输还是赢，就决定你是不是可以选出可以代表你的候选人。
What is the minimum years for those murder accusations to get offered? How many years do they have to serve in the country?
Yes, if you've served 25 years, you're entitled to immediate release.
Thank you, Honorable Luis, and thank you, Attorney Liu. I'm so glad that you ring the bell for the Chinese community. 像刘律师前面讲的，很多我们的华人就是不注重、不留意这个美国的政治或是这些选举的东西啊。他们像刘律师刚刚讲的，他说这不缺我这一票啊，你们去投就好了。美国已经很自由，所以他们不去参与，这是很不对的。我们应该要教育我们华人社区一定要多参与、多投票，发出我们的声音。那我现在要分享的就是刚刚刘律师讲的那个史德运这个案件，因为他打死那2个小孩子是我儿子的好朋友，他们从小一起长大。他们在幼稚园的时候，那个大的小孩是我儿子的幼稚园的同学，然后一直小学、初中、高中都是好朋友。我儿子还到他们家去 sleep over， 就是到他家去过夜。他们小孩子到我家来过夜，所以这2个小孩子的父母我也很熟。你想想看，一个小孩子你养到10几岁，一个晚上就被人打死了，还是自己的姑丈，这是非常非常痛心的一件事。所以我就是说，我们一定要参与，一定要注意这些各种所发生的事情像我儿子，他非常非常伤心，因为他的好朋友突然就被人打死了，而且这父母呢，当天晚上都不知道他2个小孩死了，因为他们去 party， 很晚才回家，他们是第2天早上，怎么小孩子还没起床，所以他们去敲门。小孩没开门，一打开门，一地的血，小孩子死掉了。他是用钝器敲他的头，2个小孩子一样的死法，都是被钝器打这个后脑死掉的。然后他就马上买了飞机票，飞到香港去了。那还有另一件事情，就是他的代表律师，就是他发生这件案件之前的代表律师，也是我的朋友。那我很高兴说，他这个律师很有正义感。他的律师就说，他既然犯下这种冷血的案件，我不代表他了，所以后来他就换了律师。这是我要分享的事情，因为这我是亲眼看到、切身经历过的。谢谢大家。
谢谢，稍微介绍一下你自己。
对不起，我没介绍我自己我叫郑子婷，我是一个退休的教授。那 我的搭档翠霞，我们非常支持刘律师，因为他所提出的各个观点我都非常赞同。像我当初一入籍，这个不是在那个 Convention Center 宣誓，我一宣誓出来，我马上登记为选民，到现在我还是共和党。谢谢。
谢谢这下子，好，非常感谢大家。